Hey, good day, everybody, and welcome back to our Chavruta sessions live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. I believe today we will be finishing chapter 5 of the 8 chapters of the Rambam. Last week we had kind of a special where the rabbi shared a presentation on the difference between the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life in the garden. Excellent session. If you want to catch that, it's last week, marked December 8th. But yeah, on that note, let's just jump right in and say hello to the rabbi. Shalom, Rabbi. You're live on the air. I'm going to turn the class over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good to see you. Good to hear you. In Israel, day every day and every day we're getting better. We're managing a bit better than the day before that. Who knows what's coming in the future? Let's dive straight ahead inside. It might be that I need to close the session on my side, okay, a bit earlier. So let's dive straight inside. I got a question regarding the last week session. And because of this question, I want to drill inside a bit more and we'll finish chapter 5. But there's something very important that I think we need to learn. And we mentioned this point, at the end of the lesson, and we didn't went inside to this. Mainly people ask me, how can I say that the tree of knowledge and tree of life are the same tree? Because we know that when God is taking out Adam and Eve, sending out Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, he's mentioning that the reason why he's sending them out is because he doesn't want them to eat from the tree of knowledge. But they already ate from the tree of knowledge. It's the tree of life, And this is where I'm coming again to be more specific and more, I will say, exact, so it will be clear. You can learn the same thing, and the question is, what is your attitude? The attitude. We are the only, I will say, animal in this world. We are not animals, we are human beings. But we are a special animal in this world that can give different, I will say, inputs to our behavior through the mindset that we're putting inside. And more than that, it's even, James, good to see you. It's even, it's also doing differentiation, okay? In the knowledge of the tradition, of the Hebrew tradition, I will say it's differently. In the Rome, I will say laws, if you don't know the law, you will still get punished. Okay, in Hebrew, it's even being said in a much clear way. Okay, if you don't know the law, it's not saying that you're not going to get punished. You will get punished. You don't know the law, learn the law again. In the Hebrew tradition, it's not like that. There's a very big difference. If you are doing, or say, something by mistake, without your intention inside, or you're doing something on purpose for doing this thing. There's a very big difference. And you can, for God forbidden, okay, for a Jewish person, if you are on purpose not keeping the Shabbat, breaking the laws of the Shabbat, so you might get a penalty, a death penalty in the court of the Jewish court, okay? But if you're doing it by mistake, so you need to bring sacrifice to God in the Temple Mount. And if you did it without acknowledging that there is Shabbat at all in this world, because, for example, as a Jewish person, but you were grown up among the non-Jewish people, so you didn't even know that there is a Shabbat, this is where you don't even need to bring anything to the Temple Mount. Okay? Just you need to do repentance and learn again about what is Shabbat. So what is the intention that I'm putting to my action is very important in the Hebrew tradition, because this is the difference between us and the animals. We are just like the animals. We are doing things, okay? But the animals, they don't put any mindset inside their behavior. And the mindset in the Hebrew tradition is very connected with the actions that we do. Therefore, when someone is doing, I will say, is eating from the forbidden tree, okay? But when he's eating, he's with the mindset of the knowledge. So he ate something, he brought inside to his body, he knowledge something in a way that is not related with the source of life, with God. Now it's a problem. If you will do the same thing again with putting inside the intention of connection with God, it will be already in a wrong way, because it was supposed, first of all, to get connected with God and then to use it as a knowledge. Okay? I will give a simple example. It's very similar, but a very simple example. I can take the book of the Bible and to start to read it and to try to research, like they do in the academic world, when exactly this book was printed, with what ink they printed this book, what is the paper that they used for printing this book. So you see that I'm using this book in a way that the knowledge that is inside of this book is not connected with me. I'm only with the other things of this book. So this knowledge, even though I'm reading the Bible, the words of God, but it's not giving me life. It's not giving me any direction in life. It's nothing. Okay? Or I can learn this book and try to understand what this book is telling me. But then it will be my knowledge, my reason, my understanding. Or I can go to the people that God spoke with them and gave them this book, those ideas, and to try to learn from them what God said to us. Fair enough. This is going to the Jewish people. Then, okay, there are also levels there. The simplest level, and we have also the inside level, and another inside level. There are 4 levels there inside. We showed it once, okay, about in all sorts of things. So there's also levels of how to get more and more insight to the life of this knowledge, okay? Or we still stay outside with a lot of ideas that are very important, but they are not knowledge of life. They are knowledge of knowledge. I want to express this a bit with the Maimonides in a different place. Okay, let's go. We're going to learn now from the, how do you call it, parallax of those who don't have a lot of questions. Yes, something like that. Dan, you know the name exactly of this book. It's being called in English.
Oh, The Guide for the Perplexed.
Yes, a guide for the perplexed. Exactly. I lost. Just a moment. Just a moment. I'm going to lose you all. Just a moment. Okay. Yes. Now you can see me. You know that there is the Maslow needs, right? These the Maslow needs.
Hierarchy of needs. Yeah.
Exactly. But there are another 2. Since the corona, there are another 2, except for eating, sleeping, having someone that loves you, whatever it is, or purpose in life. You need also to have a device so you can speak with others, and you also need to have a battery to put in the device. Unless if you don't have those 2, you're losing it. So I lost almost the battery of this of the computer. Okay, so let's learn. It's not a short chapter.
No. I read the whole book online, and it took me over a month. 4 days a week, I was reading it. Yeah, took me over a month.
Yes. Okay. So let's learn this book, and you will start to see that you can be very, I will say, very close to God, and still be very far from Him. And this is basically to take from the tree, where you can be very close with God, but with the wrong, I will say, purpose, with the wrong mindset. Even though it's the tree that you can be very close, you will still be very far from God. And if you're switching the way of knowledging by starting, first of all, with your reason and then trying to get connected with God, this is where you're losing it. And this is why Adam and Eve were kicked out from Eden, because they did it in the wrong, I will say, order. Well, you need to do this in the right order. So first of all, let's just learn how you can be very close to God and very far from Him. So let's go step by step. We will explain everything. It's a very simple, I will say, a very simple, I will say, example. But still, let's learn it, okay? So we're going to learn, it's in the third part, and it's chapter 51. Please.
Okay, the present chapter does not contain any additional matter that has not been treated in the previous chapters of this treatise. It is a kind of conclusion, and at the same time, it will explain in what manner those worship God who have obtained a true knowledge concerning God. It will direct them how to come to that worship, which is the highest aim man can attain, and show how God protects them in this world till they are removed to eternal life.
So we're speaking about a situation that is going to express also to show us that how you can go more and more inside and what are the things that you need to do. And he's going to give an example, okay? And he's going to give an example of these 7 parts for this example. I will begin, please.
I will begin the subject of this chapter with a simile. A king is in his palace, and all his subjects are partly in the country and partly abroad. Of the former, some have their backs turned towards the king's palace, and their faces in another direction, and some are desirous and zealous to go to the palace, seeking to inquire in his temple, and to minister before him, but have not yet seen even the face of the wall of his house. Of those that desire to go to the palace, some reached it and go around about in search of the entrance gate. Others have passed through the gate and walked about in the antechamber, and others have succeeded in entering into the inner part of the palace, and being in the same room with the king in the royal palace. But even the latter do not immediately on entering the palace see the king or speak to him. For after having entered the inner part of the palace, another effort is required before they can stand before the king. Can you scroll up a little, down a little, Rabbi? At a distance or close by, hear his words or speak to him.
So we have, it's, he imagines, it's a story that he, from his, I will say from his head, the Maimonides from his head, said to us a story. And he's showing that there are all sorts of kinds of people that are trying or are seeking, some of them even not seeking to get connected with God. I will say that they are eating from the tree of knowledge. That's it. They don't believe that there is a God, okay? Some of them are trying to get connected with God or close to God, but still they need to have, there are a few stages. You can be also in the palace and don't see at all this king. So now he's trying to give the examples, and I'm really sorry for Lara because he's giving, I don't know, in the English I didn't test it, I didn't check it out before, but he's giving one of the groups that he's giving as the most far from God are the Turkish people. So let's read it for a moment, okay? Please. Now he's going step by step. The first group, please.
Okay, I will now explain the simile which I have made. The people who are abroad are all those who have no religion, neither one based on speculation nor one received by tradition. Such are the extreme Turks that wander about in the north, the Cushites who live in the south, and those in our country who are like these. I consider these as irrational beings and not as human beings. They are below mankind, but above monkeys, since they have the form and shape of man and a mental faculty above that of a monkey.
It's amazing. It's amazing that he is describing them as an irrational people. Those who don't seek for any truth, any connection with God who's giving them the source of life, they are irrational people. Okay? Today we're saying the opposite. Well, what we're saying today is that those who believe in God, those are the people who are irrational. Because we are all, of course, rational people. Maimonides is saying, no, the opposite. They are very far from God. They are, they're better than monkeys because they have the potential of learning. But at this point of time, there's something in between. They're not monkeys because they're human beings, but they're also irrational people. How come they're not learning and trying to seek for God? It's just the opposite than what we're speaking today. This is the first group. Let's continue on to the second group, please.
Okay. Those who are in the country but have their backs turned toward the king's palace, are those who possess religion, belief, and thought, but happen to hold false doctrines, which they either adopted in their consequence of great mistakes made in their own speculations, or received them from others who misled them. Because of these doctrines, they recede more and more from the royal palace, the more they seem to proceed. These are worse than the first class, and under certain circumstances it may become necessary to slay them and to extirpate their doctrines in order that others should not be misled.
This is amazing what he's saying here. Saying those who are teaching wrong ideas, okay, those are the most extreme bad group, because they are leading others outside from the, I would say, from not from this world, from the world to come. Think about this for a moment. What is more worse? More worse is that you're taking someone that have the potential to come to the world to come and get connected with God, and you misleading him to not to do a wrong thing, to the false way, or that you're killing someone, God forbid it, okay? Killing someone, you know what? Maybe he will come to heaven and God will judge him, whatever it is, and he'll say, okay, he had no choice, so let's give him another opportunity. But if someone is leading someone else to the wrong, I will say, faith, he is taking him outside from the world to come. This is a very bad position. So the Maimonides is saying we need to kill them. Now, of course, the Maimonides didn't kill the people. I don't know if you remember that the Maimonides was one of the greatest doctors that we had in those days. He was also the doctor of the king in Egypt, okay, in these days, and he gave a lot of life. He said about himself that he doesn't have time to learn the Torah in those days, because all the time people came to him to get medicine for all of the illnesses. So the Maimonides didn't do that, but he's saying if you will think about this seriously, you will see that they are very I will say they are very bad people that leading people to a very hard way. It's very far from God. Let's continue on to the third group, okay? Those who desire.
Those who desire to arrive at the palace and to enter it, but have never yet seen it, are the mass of religious people, the multitude that observe and the divine commandments, but are ignorant.
They absorb the divine commandments. They are doing those actions, but they're not learning. They're not going inside of this too much. They're behaving in the right way. It's good. We're going one step ahead, but they're losing, or they're lacking the reason. They're lacking the knowledge. Let's continue on. The fourth group, please.
All right. Those who arrive at the palace but go round about it are those who devote themselves exclusively to the study of the practical law. They believe traditionally in true principles of faith and learn the practical worship of God, but are not trained in philosophical treatment of the principles of law and do not endeavor to establish the truth of their faith by proof.
I think that this is one of the most amazing groups that we have, okay? Of those who are learning and seeking exactly what do I need to do? How do I need to behave? What exactly I need? How exactly I need to act in each place? And it's good. But let's think for a moment about all the principles of this religion, all the behavior of God. From where did everything came? How can you get close to God? And the Maimonides here is peeling it, step by step, that we need to work also on our tradition. Now, we're not going to learn the last chapter of the Maimonides here. Another 3 chapters is the last one of this book, this long book and amazing book. But he will say that God is asking us to behave in the right way. But what he's saying here is that to behave in the right way, it's one thing. God is also asking us to knowledge in the right way, okay? To get connected with the tree of life. To get connected with the tree of life is to get connected with God. So this is not enough. this point or this part of behavior is good, but it's not enough. So let's continue on. For those who are getting more closer with God, okay, it's a fifth group, please.
All right. Those who undertake to investigate the principles of religion have come into the antechamber, and there is no doubt that these can also be divided into different grades.
Okay, and now he's continuing on, and he's saying, okay, they're coming inside, let's go and break it. Group number 6, please. Those who have.
But those who have succeeded in finding a proof for everything that can be proved, who have a true knowledge of God, so far as a true knowledge can be attained, and are near the truth wherever an approach to the truth is possible, they have reached the goal and are in the palace in which the king lives.
Do they see the king? Are they connected with the king? They know how the king is acting in this world, but they're still not partnershiping with the king in a fully way. Okay, they're just getting closer. They're getting closer, but they're not part, or the king is not, they're not speaking with the king. Okay, they're very close, but they're not speaking with the king. Okay, and now he's a, hey, what happened here? Okay. Now it's long, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to break it down. Okay, please, this part.
Okay, my son.
I will tell you where to stop. Okay, please.
My son, so long as you are engaged in studying the mathematical sciences and logic, you belong to those who go around about the palace in search of the gate. Thus, our sages figuratively use the phrase, Ben Zoma is still outside. When you understand physics, you have entered the hall. And when, after completing the study of natural philosophy, you master metaphysics, you have entered the innermost court and are with the king in the same palace.
In the same palace, and maybe even the same place, but it's not that you already speaking with the king. So he explained things that happened before. Now let's continue on to the next stage. Okay, you have attained. Oh, sorry. Okay, we came to here.
Okay.
Where it is? Well, okay, please. You have obtained. Please.
You have attained the degree of the wise men, who included men of different grades of perfection. There are some who direct all their mind toward the attainment of perfection in metaphysics, devote themselves entirely to God, exclude from their thought every other thing, and employ all their intellectual faculties in the study of the universe, in order to derive therefrom a proof for the existence of God and to learn in every possible way how God rules all things. They, from this class of those who have entered the palace, namely the class of the prophets, one of these has attained so much knowledge and has concentrated his thoughts to such an extent in the idea of God that it could be said of him, and he was with the Lord 40 days. From Exodus 34:28.
Who was with the Lord for 40 days?
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Moses, exactly. So when he came to this situation, think about this for a moment. He didn't eat and he didn't drink for 40 days. Why? Because God, we need to eat food for living, okay? But when you're getting connected with the source of life, you don't need to eat for living. You're part of the source of life. You're getting connected with him. You're sitting with him. And this is what happened to Moses, okay? During that holy, please continue.
During that holy communion, he could ask him, answer him, speak to him, and be addressed by him, enjoying beatitude in that which he had obtained to such a degree that he did neither eat bread nor drink water. His intellectual energy was so predominant that all coarser functions of the body, especially those connected with the sense of touch, were in abeyance. Some prophets are only able to see, and of these some approach near and see, whilst others see from a distance. The Lord hath appeared from far unto me, from Jeremiah 31:3. We have already spoken of the various degrees of prophets.
So this is something that is spoken in the first part of this book. I'm not going inside to the 8 stages of the prophets. But it's more important to understand that knowledging or understanding things only from the perspective of my reason, of my logic, of my brain is one thing. But we need also that God will approach us back and speak with us. This is the prophets. Unfortunately, in the last 24 centuries, we don't have the approach of God back, but we do have some of the Hebrew sages who are containing, like, a jar of a can of tuna, that is being in the jar that could be in for a long time, who are containing from generation to generation those ideas. The Bible, this book also is part of this thing. I won't go inside again to all of this. But we see that there are people who could be next to God, but still very far from Him, because they are not in a stage of 100% inside. They're starting to knowledge, they're starting to come inside, they're close to the palace, whatever it is, but still they're very far from Him, because they're not in the stage of prophecy. And this is, I will say, the main message of this chapter. When we give an example of those who are very far from the palace, those who are trying to come inside of the palace, but there is a way of becoming partnership with God. And this is what Adam and Eve lost, because they ate from the tree of knowledge before they ate from the tree of life, or they took the approach of knowledge instead of taking the approach of life. If they would have taken the approach of life in the first step, then they can also knowledge much more. This is what happened with Moses. He took it in the way of life, so he got connected with God, and then he was very close with God for 40 days, and he received all the Torah. Now, in the Torah, there are things. I will give one example. I'll give 2 examples, okay? In the Torah, what Moses gave us, it's not written down in the Torah, okay? It's more in the oral Bible that we have. I'll give 2 issues that Moses gave us, and how much today, with all of the knowledge of science, we understand how much it was great things. The first one was all the movement of the stars, okay? Until along all of the history, the sages of the Arabs, of the Muslims, came to the Hebrew sages to learn exactly about the movement of the stars and when exactly the new month is starting according to the moon. Because we had this in an exact way, even in a better exact way from the sages of the Gregorian calendar, that I don't know if you remember that or if you know that, there was a loss of 11 days, if you remember that, in one stage of the history. But the Hebrew people never lost any day of the, they didn't have
right
any...
when the was it the Gregorian calendar replaced the Julian calendar. Exactly. Like England had to skip 11 days in the calendar. Yes.
Exactly. So this is one thing that Moses came to us with the very exact things. The second thing is that we have the anatomic of all the anatomic of all the animals. We have it's a very hard book, okay, with a lot of pictures, whatever it is today. The anatomic of the animals, and when the animals are in a kosher stage or they're already dying, even though they didn't die yet. Okay. Now it's a very, very complicated issues and very. I'm not going to go inside of this, but today the science is proving that everything that we know since Moses is true, and everybody is very amazed. How come Moses in those days knew that? But the answer is very simple. He was related with the one who created this world, with the one who is giving life to this world. So this God explained to him a lot of things. Since then, we are working on this way. And this is what God basically said to Adam and Eve. Go and eat from the tree according to becoming related with the right approach of being connected with me, the source of life. And then you can expand your knowledge more and more and more. But they did the opposite. And this was the, I will say, the big problem if they would have taken, after in the wrong way, in the wrong stages. Okay, first the tree of knowledge and then the tree of life. Could be a very big problem. Now let's continue. Okay, the last part of this. We're not going to read everything, but I know what. let's read it. So, okay, this part. Let's read it. This part. So just to finalize it, and then we'll go back to the 8 chapters, and we will finalize chapter 5. Please.
Right, okay. We will therefore return to the subject of this chapter and exhort those who have attained a knowledge of God to concentrate all their thoughts in God. This is the worship peculiar to those who have acquired knowledge of the highest truths. And the more they reflect on Him and think of Him, the more they are engaged in His worship. Those,
just a moment,
however...
Just a moment.
Oh, you froze, Rabbi. Well, I think the rabbis froze. Maybe I'll continue reading while I can. Those who think of God and frequently mention... Okay, go ahead, Rabbi. Now you're back.
Okay.
You were frozen for a minute.
I got again lost. Yes, here it is. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm saying that you see that he's mentioning here that the question is, how exactly you're learning this physics? How exactly you're learning those rules of the world? Are you learning it from the knowledge side, or you're learning it from the connection with God? How he is guiding this world. This is the difference, and the difference is coming from the intention that I'm putting inside to the things that I'm living in. Okay, so let's continue, please. Those,
however, who think of God and frequently mention His name without any correct notion of Him, but merely following some imagination or some theory received from another person, are, in my opinion, like those who remain outside the palace and distant from it. They do not mention the name of God in truth, nor do they reflect on it, that which they imagine and mention does not correspond to any being in existence. It's like a false God notion. Yeah, when you have an incorrect notion. It is a thing invented by their imagination, as has been shown by us in our discussions on the divine attributes, part 1, chapter 1. The true worship of God is only possible when correct notions of Him have previously been conceived. When you have arrived by way of intellectual research at a knowledge of God and His works, then commence to devote yourself to Him, try to approach Him, and strengthen the intellect, which is the link that joins you to Him. You scroll down. Thus Scripture says, "Unto thee it was showed that thou mightest know that the Lord, He is God," from Deuteronomy 4:35. "Know therefore this day, and consider it in your heart, that the Lord, He is God," from Deuteronomy 4:36. "Know you there that the Lord is God," from Psalm 100, verse 3. Thus the law distinctly states that the highest kind of worship to which we refer in this chapter is only possible after the acquisition of the knowledge of God. For it is said to love the Lord your God and to serve Him with all your heart and with all your soul, from Deuteronomy 11:13. And as we have shown several times, man's love of God is identical with his knowledge of Him.
Just a moment. It's very important, this point, because he's jumping here for a moment, okay? From knowledge to love. If you want to go inside and to get connected, love is connection, okay? And if you want to get connected with God, it's also related with how much you are knowledging God through what's happening in this world, because this is the way that God is functioning with us. So as more and more that you're getting more knowledge, this is a way that you will manage to be also in the relation and connection with God, with the love of God. It's very important, this point. It's something that, I will say it like that. This is a difference between the Maimonides and between the Jewish or the Hebrew tradition, okay, and the philosophers. Because the philosophers are also saying knowledge, whatever it is. But it's only the tree of knowledge. It's not the tree of life. And if you want to be in the life stage, you need to come to the stage of love. And the stage of love is the life stage. And this is where the difference is coming. So the Maimonides, who is a very, I will say, very philosopher, okay, in his mind and whatever he's speaking, and if you read this book, you know that, but still he is a very Hebrew person. And he's saying, but if you want to come to the stage that you're getting connected with God, you want to go to the palace, but also to speak with the king, you need to be in the stage of love.
Yeah, and it says love him with all your heart. And if you have a wrong notion in there, that your heart is divided. Okay, where was I? The divine service enjoined in these words must accordingly be preceded by the love of God. Our sages have pointed out to us that it is a service in the heart, which explanation I understand to mean this: man concentrates all his thoughts on the first intellect and is absorbed in these thoughts as much as possible. David therefore commands his son Solomon these two things and exhorts him earnestly to do them, to acquire a true knowledge of God and to be earnest in his service after that knowledge has been acquired. For he says, "And thou, Solomon, my son, know thou the God of thy father and serve him with a perfect heart. If you seek him, he will be found of thee. But if you forsake him, he will cast thee off forever." From 1 Chronicles 28:9. The exhortation refers to, can you scroll down? Refers to the intellectual conceptions, not to the imaginations. Very important point. The latter are not called knowledge, but that which cometh into your mind. From Ezekiel 20, verse 32. It has thus been shown that it must be man's aim, after having acquired the knowledge of God, to deliver himself up to him, and to have his heart constantly filled with longing after him. He accomplishes this generally by seclusion and retirement. Every pious man should therefore seek retirement and seclusion, and should only, in case of necessity, associate with others.
Okay, now what I want to show, first of all, we're starting to understand that you can eat from the same tree. The question is, what is your intention? Okay, if your intention is for knowledge, so you're getting far from God. If your intention is for getting connected with God, life, so you're getting close to God. And you need to do this in the right way. The right way is taking, first of all, the tree of life, eat it in the right way of getting connected with God, and then you will manage to expand your knowledge in the right way, in the right mindset. But if you're doing it in the opposite way, so God is kicking you out from Eden and telling you, okay, start from the beginning. This is exactly also what is being said we're in chapter 5, okay? And please read this short paragraph that we read last time in the end. And this is mainly the main message of this chapter 5 also. Okay, please.
Okay, so this is back in the 8 chapters of the Rambam, chapter 5. Concerning those which lead directly to this goal, there is naturally no question, but such subjects as mathematics, the study of conic sections, mechanics, and the various problems of geometry, hydraulics, and many others of a similar nature, which do not tend directly towards that goal, should be studied for the purpose of sharpening the mind and training the mental faculties by scientific investigations, so that man may acquire intellectual ability to distinguish demonstrative proofs from others, whereby he will be enabled to comprehend the essence of God. Logically makes sense.
Last sentence is very important. Now we're starting to understand exactly, and it's, I will say, bringing together the things that we spoke last week with this week, that it's all a question. We need to learn all of those things, but the question is why? What is the intention behind learning those things? And what is the approach that we're taking when we are learning those things? Are we learning them only for the intellect? Are we learning them only for knowledge on the lower level? Or are we learning them to get connected with God and basically also to be in love with him and be connected with him. And at the end of the chapter, okay, I'm jumping a bit, but you can read it. It's very those are things that we spoke about. Okay, that but the end of this chapter subject, and this is the last part. Okay, here it is. Please, such striving.
Such striving does the Almighty require of us, according to the words, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. That is, with all the faculties of thy soul, each faculty having as its sole ideal the love of God. The prophets similarly urge us on this saying, In all thy ways, know him or acknowledge him, and he'll direct your steps. Yeah. In commenting upon which the sages said, even as regards a transgression of the ritual or ceremonial law, meaning thereby that thou shouldst set for every action a goal, namely the truth, even though it be from a certain point of view a transgression. The sages of blessed memory, too, have summed up this idea in so few words and so concisely, at the same time elucidating the whole matter with such complete thoroughness, that when one considers the brevity with which they express this great and mighty thought in its entirety, about which others have written whole books, and yet without adequately explaining it, one truly recognizes that the rabbis undoubtedly spoke through divine inspiration. This saying is found among their precepts in this tractate, and is, Let all thy deeds be done for the sake of God. This, then, is the thought we have been dwelling upon in the present chapter, and what we have said must be considered sufficient for the needs of this introduction.
Okay, basically, he finished, I will say, in those 5 chapters, all what he wanted to say. And this, in the 5th one, now what we saw, I'm not saying to anyone to do bad deeds and to say, but my intention is good. Okay, this is a very unique situation that happened in few times of the history, and our sages are mentioning those times. It's in the Bible. I won't go inside to those places. Basically, we need to do good deeds and also with the right intention. This is very important. Okay, but what he's saying here, that there are people inside the Bible that we saw along the history of the Hebrew nation, okay, that even they managed even to do bad deeds and to upside down those deeds to good things, because the intention is very important. It's playing the main role in our behavior. And this is what I'm saying, I think, along since we know one each other, I'll say it like that. Okay, I'm saying that we are one person. If I will open again the first chapter of this 5 of the 8 chapters, okay, the first chapter was that we are one person. Every person in this world is one unit. Okay, his mind, his words, and his actions must have some sort of a one clear, I will say, one clear side that is going along one with each other. And we can't be in a Hebrew cat way thinking one thing and behaving in another way. And this is exactly what he's mentioning here when we climbed up and we saw all the actions and learning, whatever it is, where we managing to learn to understand how much our behavior is connected with our intention and with our mindset to bring the behavior that we do to a higher level. And it's all related with the things that we think, with the things that we desire that we put inside. And it can bring us to a stage of love of God. So here we finished, I'll say, the main part of the 8 chapters. And next week, we're going to learn in each chapter, okay? He is giving us also the tools for, I will say, for the gate, for coming inside, to the behavior in front of God, or to the behavior that we have in this world. There are a few tools that we need to have, okay? This is what we're going to learn next. The next chapter, chapter 6, is one of the tools. Chapter 7 is also a tool. Chapter 8 is also a tool. Those are tools that we use with ourselves to come to the stage of a better behavior, of a much more, I will say, modesty behavior, the things that is also reflecting or connecting with the God's behavior and demands God from us in this world. Questions? If you have anything is not clear or something like that. Yes, James, please.
To love God with all thy heart, with all thy soul. What does that feel like? And is there a feeling connected? Is there a sentiment? Or are we saying to love with all my heart, all my soul, in a detached way? Do it, and the feelings will follow.
It's a very good question. Okay. And we have also in the Maimonides era, okay, I'm speaking about 850 years ago, there's a very important book of that is mentioning all the 613 laws for the Jews, for the Hebrew people, that we are obligated to do. And one of the most important things that is mentioning there, he have a question. He is asking why we have so many commandments that are related with the Hebrew nation going out from Egypt. Why do we need so many? We have something like, every day something like 4 or 5, and every week something like around 20, that we are mentioning that we went out from Egypt. Why? Why do we need so much? The mezuzah that we put on the door, when we're putting tefillin, a lot of things. We all the time we're mentioning that we went out from Egypt. And he's asking, this is a question that he's asking. And the answers that he is giving, that after the actions, when you do actions, it's bringing you to a stage that the heart is also inside there. And this is a bit of an answer for what you asked. It's not, if you're doing the actions in the right way and you are learning more and more, but you have the right intention that you want to get close to God, so those actions or those ritual actions, I will say it like that, is implementing in you the right feeling of the love of God or connecting with God. Now, it's very important also to note that in the Hebrew tradition, it's not only love, it's also all the time also with fear. It's going together. Both of those sides are going together. You can't take only one side. If you will take only the love side, you're losing. You need to be in the balance. We spoke about this also in those chapters. Like someone who clown or something who is going on the rope, where underneath is going. If he will fall down, he will fall down. So he's going with a very big stick, to be in the right balance. We are all the time in the right balance between love and fear. There are times that we are in the fear side, there are times that we are in the love side, but we need to be in the right balance, not to lose it to one side or to the other side. In a secret, I will tell you, it's only us, right? The Christian world went too much to the love side. The Muslim world went too much to the fear side. Okay, it's interesting. Okay, but it is true. Both of them are coming from the family of Abraham. Okay, Esav is the Christian world, and Ishmael is the Muslim world. Those are two different sides. Jacob is in the middle, with the balance between the fear and the love. So I gave you the answer that after the actions are implementing to us the right feeling. But again, we also all the time balancing between the fear and the love.
Is the feeling of fear, Rabbi, is that a matter of respect or a matter of fear of loss?
There are stages, something like 5 stages of this fear, okay? I will give you an example. I'm giving this all the time, but I will give you an example, okay? There is a fear from the Almighty God that, I don't know if you have ever, I hope he never had it, but when someone is supposed to be in a trial, So on the day that he's supposed to come to the courts and stand in front of the judge, you have a fear. So think for a moment that you need to stand in front of God who created this world, you know? It's a big fear, okay? So this is a very one stage of the fear. But there's also some stage of fear that is a different one. For example, when you see a 3 years old, nice child, you know, your grandson, trying to climb on the stairs, and he's almost falling down. So you're jumping to him, right? To hold him, because you have a fear that he will get, but you're doing it because of a big love, right? We love him. So because of the fear that because we love him, it's not the fear of fearing from God who created this world. So these stages of fear, there are 5 stages. I'm not going inside, but this fear is something that we can go deeper and deeper inside, and we can find that there are few, I will say, few points of view of the fear of God that we have. And this is where we're starting to put the balance inside between the fear and the love and whatever it is. It's something that we need to learn. It's not something that, you know, okay, I said now, I give an example, I gave examples, but it's something, those are things that we need to learn them, much more profound. And then we have the right way of how to live this life here in this world.
Thank you, Rabbi.
With pleasure. Okay. Ask Jacob,
Excellent.
what is
Yeah,
it? That the
excellent
small,
point.
that the small kid is starting to do something that is from love.
Yeah, imagine a little child, 3-year-old, running out onto the road. Yeah, you're going to grab the child. You don't want to see them get run over. And yeah.
Fair enough.
Jacob, did you have a question?
Well, just a midrash I heard about the tree, the bark, you know, the wood had the same taste as the fruit. And so my question, because they, you know, God said, don't eat from this tree. And he says, don't eat from this etz, don't eat from this wood. But then when Chava is talking to the serpent, she says, we can't eat from the fruit. And I'm wondering if these two are connected, like, you know, the wood and the fruit, if it's the same tree, but different parts.
No. So both of those things are speaking about the fruits, but I will say like that. You're a bit mixing with something a bit else, okay? That is being mentioned in chapter 1. In chapter 1, in the 3rd day, okay, when God is saying basically in verse 11, please read verse 11, Dan. And God said,
Verse 11, and God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, seed yielding herbs, and the fruit trees producing fruit according to its kind in which its seed is found on the earth, and it was so.
So, what was the taste of the tree in this verse?
Is it talking about the tree of life here? Or is it talking
No,
about...
it's talking here about what God wanted that will happen. What was, I will say, the order that God gave to the earth to produce. The earth is supposed to sprout vegetation, right? But it's supposed to be that there will be fruit trees, right? Fruit trees producing fruit. So we have twice. The fruit, the trees is also a fruit, and the fruit is also a fruit. But what exactly happens? Please, Dan, read verse number 12.
12, and the earth gave forth vegetation, seed yielding herbs according to its kind, and trees producing fruit in which its seed is found according to its kind, and God saw that it was good.
Did the earth give exactly what God asked him to do? The answer is no. You're getting confused a bit with this. It's not speaking about the tree of life and tree of knowledge. It's in a principle. God wanted very much that, or God wanted, okay? God said to the earth to take out something, and the earth at this stage of time, we're speaking on the third day, man is not here yet, had some sort of, I will say, freedom of choice to decide not to obey to God. And it did something a bit else, right? And this is where Rashi is saying something amazing here. And in a moment, I'm going to give Rabbi Shmuel that came inside also to say a few words about this specific thing, okay? Rashi is saying something really amazing. He's saying that fruit trees, okay? Dan, please read this for a moment from the
fruit trees. That the taste of the tree should be like the taste of the fruit. It, or the earth, did not do so. However, but the earth gave forth, etc., trees producing fruit.
But the trees themselves.
But the trees themselves were not fruit. Therefore, when man was cursed because of his iniquity, it, or the earth, too, was punished for its iniquity, and was cursed not in all additions. That's from Genesis 5:9.
So this is where the confusion is coming. Now, it's not speaking here about the tree of knowledge and tree of life. It's saying in principle what God wanted that will happen in this world and what happened. And we can ask ourselves a lot of questions now. I didn't know that the earth have freedom of choice. Okay? And what is the meaning of this story? Is it only a story? There's supposed to be a meaning here inside. Okay? And the meaning is very simple. That we were supposed to, we thought, okay, that what God wanted, that I will say, the way of reaching things, the tree that is producing fruits, will be in the same, I will say, taste of the thing itself. But today in this world, we don't have this. There are stages. When I want to build up a house, the way that I'm passing until I'm building the house is a very long one, and most of the time it's not pleasant, like when I'm sitting inside the house, inside the fruit that I wanted, okay? The world here is in a different stage, a different position. But it's not the issue now, okay? We spoke mainly about, well, it's a bit connected, but it's not connected for the tree of knowledge, tree of life, in the way that this is what God wanted. And when you will go inside to the tree of knowledge, tree of life, you will see that it's not doing this differentiation. Okay? Rabbi Shmuel, please.
Okay. I don't want to take too much time of you, but just in the spirit of what the rabbi is talking here about the third day of creation, to go one day further, you have a similar type of parable that comes up there about the relationship between the sun and the moon and the stars. And actually, if you take the climate at this moment in Israel, one of the positive things, we had a very sunny day, comparatively cold, but a bit sunny. And when I walked with my wife this morning at 5:15 in the morning, and you had the moon out, it was so crystal clear because of it being halfway through the month in the Hebrew calendar as well. The lunar part, or halfway through the month, happens to be the English date also. Halfway through December, it's halfway through the Hebrew month as well. And when you have a very clear night in the winter and it's sunny, you can walk with moonlight with absolute pleasure. And I mean, we had electricity anyhow on the streets, but it was a very pleasant type of thing. And to understand the relationship between the moon and the sun, the moon actually is a reflection of the light that we receive from the sun. Yet supposedly the sun is far more superior in its strength. To that end, the relationship between we as people to God is like the relationship compared between the moon and the sun Son is the great giver and we are the recipient. In many esoteric teachings, that's one of the fascinating issues, relationship between God the giver with a capital G, and we the recipients, those who receive. Real challenge is, do we live up to the standard of the tremendous gift that God is giving us? Ecclesiastes talks about a number of times in his works that there's a huge gap between the tremendous gift and perfection of what God had offered us. And unfortunately, we often tend to ruin, at least partially, if not worse, the tremendous gift that God has given. I know that often when I speak to you, I feel one of the things which is a universal concept, which is important to me, is the quality and the sensitivity to human life. If you see how many funds are spent worldwide in destruction, you ask yourself, there's any correlation between the tremendous gift of life that God gives us and the tremendous amount we spend and waste on how to kill each other and how to fight each other. Rather than using those financial resources to develop even further the tremendous gift that God has given us, are we actually taking advantage of it in the correct direction? That's part of the real challenge that we go through, and part of the idea of having a Messiah in the future and a redemption is to get to the value that people will unify in serving God. And once the world gets to that type of understanding, the sensitivity of human life goes together with it, because the message of God essentially is a message of peace and a way of preservance of human life, and not the opposite. I just wonder, when I look at the budgets, expenditure, especially goals of many of the countries around the world, are they really trying and aspiring to have a preservance of human life, investing in making children and families really develop their own qualities to a full extent? I mean, we're forced into a battle that we have to fight back, and I'm the last one to be a pacifist. That's not the point. But in principle, if we didn't have to defend ourselves, simply use our energies and budgets to develop a higher quality of life and preservance of life, I would be 100 times more happy. But when you have no choice, you do what you have to do. But when we learn about the creation, especially the beautiful description that the rabbi mentions of day 3, or what I indicated also of day 4, we see, I think, a little bit sadly, the tremendous gap between the tremendous ideal that God had when he created the world and the result of what people had done with that beautiful treasure. And I think the latter parts of the Torah, when describing Moses and the ideals that he shares with the world and with us in particular, he is trying, but really trying, to preserve that beautiful creation made by God and give us a chance to pay tribute and gratitude to the gift we had received, rather than fighting against the wonderful gift we have been received, that we would actually pay gratitude and preserve life. Essentially, the commandments we have are exactly for that purpose. The commandments are the clues that God gave us to make the world that he created a better place to live, so that the creations of days 3 and 4 would be positive creation. Sorry if it took me a few minutes to explain this, but I want to make it clear to you that days 3 and 4 are some of the most idealist ideas of what creation is all about, and what we are hinted is expected of us to maintain that tremendous gift. Just like, for example, a woman has the potential of bringing children to the world together with her husband and the divine assistance, we also have to continue and cherish our families and our relationships in order to enhance the divine gift. Thank you.
Wow, very well said. Yeah, I think people need to realize the way the Torah branches out. So you've got a trunk, and then ideas start coming, and people tend to jump too far down the branch and don't get back to the root. And I think, Rabbi Goldberg, Ermelinda's online, been watching on YouTube, and she made a point or a question about fear as well. And I tried to spin it in a response to a question of purity. And I think if we take anything from the Rambam's message today, I think we really need to see our approach towards God has to be one of a pure heart. I mean, if you're going to love the Lord your God with all your heart and your mind and your soul, you've got to do it with purity. And I think nobody better to teach the lessons of purity than the Jewish people, for sure. So somebody else in the group, I think it was Martina, had a hand up earlier, but the hand went down. Rabbi Hirschler, always a joy to have you jump in the class and weigh in. It just means so much. I hope everybody appreciates it.
Thank you very much, Hirschler. Yes, very important.
Thank you very, very much. And let's really hope that it's going to happen, that finally the world will try to seek the divine message. You have so much to be proud of that you are trying to get to it. I wish everybody around our universe would follow in your footsteps. It would be a much better world to be appreciative of. That's for sure.
Oh, my personal error has always been one that I always look for patterns, and I try to function in life with patterns. You know, how does the world work? How does things function? And humans have a tendency to recognize patterns, and I think when you're approaching Hashem, you don't want to do it with the wrong intent, and it's patterns just are insufficient. Your actions have to be pure. And Rabbi Goldberg shared that text with me a few weeks ago that fear of God is like walking a tightrope, a high wire tightrope. Imagine walking across two high-rise buildings where there's 1,000-foot drop, and you're carrying a stick, and is your walk, are you paying attention? You don't have any opportunity in that circumstance for error. And if we function in life too flippantly or nonchalant, I find too many people in this world just function by rote and don't have enough deliberation in their intent. And honestly, letting your actions be effective in this world, you've got to have the right intent and the right love of Hashem at heart, or else it could be actions in vain. And does anybody else have any questions or comments they want to weigh in before we wind it down?
I need to go. I'm sorry. I'm very far away. When I'm going, it's not closing the room. So if you want to still speak, it's okay.
Are you aiming for chapter 6 next week, Rabbi?
Yes, hopefully, yes. Yes.
Excellent.
Hashem.
Hashem.
Have a great week ahead. Okay.
Yes.
Dan, you are the host now. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a wonderful day. We're praying for you and all Israel. It's always a joy to see you. Till next week, Rabbi. Take care. Oh, I see James had his hand up, or he gave you a thumbs up. Yeah. All right. On that note, I think I'm going to wind down the live broadcast. And if anybody wants to chat in the Zoom meeting, I'll keep it open for a little bit. So till next week, we're going to sign out for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. Bye for now.